Imagine this: you walk into a room full of people. It's buzzing with chatter, laughter, and energy. Everyone seems to be connecting effortlessly, and you can't help but feel a little out of place. Maybe you'd rather find a quiet corner, just for a moment, to catch your breath. But here's the thing: people keep telling you, you need to be more outgoing, more social, more like everyone else. It's almost as if being quiet is a problem. But what if I told you that being the quiet one, the introvert, could actually give you an edge? That introverts, those of us who prefer solitude, deep thinking, and quieter spaces, hold the potential to shape the world in ways that loud, fast-moving extroverts simply can't? Think about it. In our world, extroversion is the gold standard. The person who speaks up the most gets the promotion. The loudest voice in the room is usually the one everyone listens to. And if you're not the life of the party, well, maybe you feel like you're missing out on something. Maybe even that you're just not enough. Sound familiar? But here's the twist. Susan Cain's quiet takes a sledgehammer to that idea. In her book, she flips the script, showing that introverts, people like you and me, bring quiet strength, creativity, and leadership in ways that are often overlooked, but are incredibly powerful. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, sure, but how does that really work in the real world? Well, let's unpack that. Cain's message is simple but revolutionary. We live in a culture that worships extroversion, but that doesn't mean introverts don't have immense value. In fact, introverts are often the ones who create the most meaningful and lasting change, quietly behind the scenes. Think about some of the world's most famous introverts: Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling. They didn't get to where they are by shouting the loudest. They thrived because they leaned into their quiet strengths: deep thinking, creativity, and empathy. And yet, we've built a world that rewards the opposite. We tell kids in school to speak up more in class, pressure employees to network constantly, and almost make introverts feel like they're doing something wrong by preferring solitude. It's like there's this unwritten rule that you have to be outgoing to succeed. But here's the kicker. Cain argues that the world isn't just missing out on the power of introverts. It's actually suffering because of it. Think about how much potential is lost when we fail to recognize the quiet power that comes with introspection, focus, and deep thinking. What if the next big idea, the next big solution to a problem we've been grappling with, could come from someone who just takes the time to sit, reflect, and quietly observe the world? This is why Cain's book hits home. She doesn't just show that introverts have something to offer. She argues that introverts are essential to shaping the future. Imagine a workplace where introverts can lead with their quiet wisdom instead of being forced to put on a loud, extroverted persona. Picture a world where introverts aren't just tolerated, they're celebrated. And here's the thing, this isn't just some abstract idea. It's real. Introverts have the power to make a massive impact, and the sooner we start embracing it, the sooner we can create a world that values both the loud voices and the quiet ones equally. But we need to stop buying into the myth that only extroverts can succeed. So what does all of this mean for you? If you've ever felt like the quiet one in the room, the one who doesn't always fit into the extroverted mold, this is your moment. Quiet isn't just about understanding introversion. It's about recognizing your own power and how you can use it to change your life and the world around you. Stick around, because in the next part we're going to break down why the world is so obsessed with extroversion and how it's time for a change. You won't want to miss it. Chapter 1. The extrovert ideal, a cultural obsession in the heart of every major city. In boardrooms, classrooms, and social gatherings, the message is clear. To succeed, you need to be bold, outgoing, and outspoken. In fact, much of modern life seems designed to celebrate these traits above all others. If you are loud, energetic, and quick to speak your mind, the world has a place for you. But if you're someone who thrives in silence, who enjoys introspection, who finds peace in solitude, well, then you're likely to feel like an outsider. You might even begin to wonder if there's something wrong with you. And that's exactly the issue Susan Cain addresses in Quiet. She argues that we've allowed what she calls the extrovert ideal to dominate society. And in doing so, we've overlooked and undervalued an essential group of people, the introverts. At its core, the extrovert ideal is a cultural assumption that outgoing, gregarious, and sociable behaviors are the most desirable and successful traits a person can possess. This ideal has seeped into nearly every corner of our lives, from the classroom to the corporate world to the way we socialize in our free time. Over time, we've come to equate social success with personal worth and leadership potential with the ability to dominate a room with charisma. But how did we get here? The roots of the extrovert ideal stretch back to the early 20th century, where the American cultural landscape began shifting away from the more reserved, modest ideals of the 19th century. The industrial age brought with it a fascination with larger-than-life personalities, bold entrepreneurs, and the notion that success could be achieved through public visibility and networking. Think of the titans of industry, the Rockefellers and Carnegies, who didn't just succeed, they were visible, influential, and, above all, sociable. The dawn of the American dream further cemented the belief that anyone could rise to the top by being assertive, outwardly focused, and unafraid to take risks in public view. In the corporate world, this shift became even more pronounced. Companies began to seek out employees who could network, negotiate, and speak confidently in front of crowds. Leadership roles were often awarded to individuals who could hold the attention of a room, command respect, and speak without hesitation. The idea of the charismatic leader emerged as a dominant model. The loudest voices were heard, while those who chose quiet contemplation or introspection were often overlooked. Fast forward to today, and the extrovert ideal continues to shape every part of our professional lives. How many times have you heard that the key to career success lies in networking, or that the best way to get ahead is to make your presence known? From job interviews to team meetings, the value of extroverted behaviors is apparent at every turn. Have you ever been asked in a meeting to speak up when you were perfectly content just observing? Have you ever felt that subtle pressure to jump into conversations or present yourself in an extroverted way to fit in or succeed? Now, take a moment to imagine how this environment feels for someone who thrives in solitude. For an introvert, the noise of constant networking, the demands of team collaboration, and the pressure to speak up in group settings can be overwhelming. Introverts are often left wondering, am I not good enough because I'm not the one raising my hand every time? Am I missing the boat because I'm not constantly socializing or selling myself? The truth is, they are not missing anything, they're simply being judged by the wrong metrics. Cain provides compelling examples of how introverts have historically been overlooked or misunderstood in the workplace. One striking example she discusses is the shift that occurred in the corporate world during the 20th century, when companies moved away from a quiet competence approach to one that emphasized extroverted behaviors. As leadership positions increasingly went to individuals who were socially dominant, introverts, who often excel in deep thought, focused work, and innovation, found themselves sidelined. In fact, Cain points out that the corporate world often equates charisma with competence, but that's a dangerous equation. Many successful leaders and innovators, such as Bill Gates and Steve Wozniak, are introverts who never fit the mold of the loud, outgoing CEO. Their success came not from dominating social situations, but from their ability to think deeply, reflect on ideas, and work tirelessly on projects that eventually changed the world. Cain argues that this cultural bias has permeated the educational system as well. Consider how many schools, particularly in the United States, prioritize group work, class participation, and speaking out loud over individual reflection and independent thinking. If you're an introverted student, you're often told that speaking up in class is the best way to succeed academically, and group projects are favored over independent study. This emphasis on social interaction, while valuable in some contexts, can make introverts feel like they are at a disadvantage. If you're someone who learns best on your own, with quiet reflection, you're told to change your approach to fit the mold of an outgoing group participant. Yet, Cain suggests these introverts may actually be gaining just as much, if not more, from their solo work. Cain's insights speak to the broader societal issue. Our obsession with the extrovert ideal often sidelines introverts' natural strengths. In social settings, introverts might be overshadowed by extroverts who take center stage, dominating conversations and taking charge. But does this mean that introverts are lacking in social skills or valuable perspectives? Absolutely not. The quiet ones often have a unique ability to listen, observe, and think critically, skills that can lead to more profound insights and meaningful contributions. Yet, these talents are frequently undervalued in a world that celebrates noise and action. Think about it. How many times have you been in a meeting or social gathering where the loudest person was also the one to get the most attention, regardless of whether their ideas were the most insightful? Meanwhile, the quieter person in the room, the one who listens carefully and processes information deeply, is left out of the conversation, or perhaps even overlooked. It's a frustrating dynamic that so many introverts know all too well. Cain emphasizes that this bias toward extroversion also affects the way we think about leadership. While extroverted leaders, those who are outgoing, charismatic, and public-facing, are often praised, introverted leaders are often seen as weak or lacking the necessary qualities to inspire others. But if we look closely, we see a very different story. Introverted leaders tend to lead in ways that are deeply thoughtful, listening to others, and working collaboratively without seeking the spotlight. They inspire through their calm demeanor, their ability to empower others, and their focus on creating a sustainable, cohesive vision, not through theatrical performances or showmanship. Cain uses the example of President Barack Obama, a self-identified introvert, to show that introverted leaders can have an incredible impact. Obama's leadership was not defined by constant public speeches or being the loudest voice in the room. It was defined by his ability to connect with people, think strategically, and make decisions based on careful deliberation. And yet, our world still seems to favor the extrovert. The corporate world, educational systems, and even social media platforms reward those who are outgoing, loud, and visible. The most extroverted individuals, the ones who are constantly networking, constantly meeting new people, and constantly putting themselves out there, are often the ones who gain recognition and accolades. But the story doesn't end here. In the next sections, we'll dive deeper into how this extrovert ideal influences our professional lives and our personal interactions. You'll begin to see how much potential is being lost by overlooking the power of quiet. Introverts, it turns out, are not just the quiet ones in the background. They are the thinkers, the creators, and the leaders we've all been waiting for. But only if we stop equating noise with value and start embracing the quiet strength that introverts bring to the table. Chapter 2. The Science of Introversion and Extroversion. We've spent time exploring how society elevates extroversion, but now, let's dig into the science behind introversion and extroversion. What makes us behave the way we do? Why do some people find energy in bustling crowds while others crave solitude? This section will unravel the fascinating neurobiological differences that underlie these behaviors and shed light on the very real ways our brains are wired differently. The concept of introversion and extroversion isn't just a social or cultural construct. It's rooted in our biology. These traits stem from the way our brains process information and respond to stimuli. One of the most prominent differences between introverts and extroverts is how they react to dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in motivation, reward, and pleasure. Dopamine is essential for our brain's reward system, influencing how we react to rewards and how motivated we feel to seek them out. However, the way introverts and extroverts process dopamine differs significantly, and this distinction explains much of the behavior we observe in both groups. Extroverts, as Cain explains in Quiet, are more sensitive to dopamine, meaning they experience a stronger sense of pleasure from external stimuli. This could be anything from a lively conversation with a friend to a high-energy work environment. For extroverts, the world is full of exciting possibilities, and they are constantly seeking out new experiences that provide stimulation. This heightened sensitivity to dopamine drives their desire for social interaction and adventure. The louder and more stimulating the environment, the more energized they feel. To an extrovert, a crowded party, a buzzing networking event, or a bustling office is an exciting playground full of opportunities to connect with others and achieve goals. Introverts, on the other hand, have a lower sensitivity to dopamine. This doesn't mean they are less capable of feeling pleasure or excitement. Rather, they experience these feelings less intensely than extroverts in social settings. When introverts find themselves in high-stimulation environments, such as a crowded event or a noisy meeting, their brains don't react with the same level of enthusiasm. In fact, the overabundance of external stimuli can lead to a sense of overstimulation or, as Cain describes it, brain overload. Introverts can become drained and fatigued when exposed to too much social interaction or external stimulation. Their brains are naturally wired to find energy in quiet, solitary activities, things like reading, reflecting, or working in a calm, focused environment. This neurological difference helps explain why introverts may feel exhausted after a day filled with meetings or socializing, while extroverts seem to thrive. Introverts often crave alone time to recharge, whereas extroverts thrive in social settings because those environments help them maintain their energy levels. Think of it like a battery. An extrovert's battery is constantly recharged by social interaction, while an introvert's battery drains faster in the same environment, needing solitude to recharge. Cain draws upon the work of psychologist and neuroscientist Jerome Kagan to support her arguments about these brain differences. Kagan's research showed that introverts and extroverts differ in their biological response to novelty and stimulation. When introduced to new or unfamiliar stimuli, extroverts display higher levels of excitement, while introverts show more caution or reserved interest. This can be observed in how children respond to unfamiliar situations. Extroverted children may eagerly approach a new activity or person, while introverted children may be more hesitant, preferring to observe first before engaging. This reaction to novelty is linked to the dopamine system and is a key factor in the ongoing distinction between introversion and extroversion. But it's not just dopamine that shapes our behaviors. Environmental factors play a critical role too. Our brains are constantly processing and adapting to the world around us, and this means that external environments can either support or challenge our natural tendencies. In high-energy, fast-paced environments, extroverts feel at home. The continuous flow of information, the need to make quick decisions, and the pressure to socialize fit with their brain's need for constant stimulation. In contrast, introverts may find such environments overwhelming and draining. As Cain notes, introverts often prefer environments that allow for deeper concentration and less external distraction. They excel in quieter spaces where they can reflect and think critically without the interference of constant social interactions. This difference in environmental preferences also explains why introverts and extroverts might thrive in different work settings. For example, an introvert might excel in a job that requires independent work, deep thinking, and concentration, such as research, writing, or design. Extroverts, on the other hand, might thrive in roles that involve frequent collaboration, networking, and public speaking. Cain highlights that introverts often find themselves out of place in work environments that demand constant teamwork and collaboration, especially in industries that prize social engagement and visibility. This mismatch can lead to a feeling of being undervalued or misunderstood, as introverts may not be given the space to demonstrate their strengths in a way that is recognized by extrovert-dominated cultures. While these neurobiological differences might seem like a simple matter of nature versus nurture, they have profound implications for our understanding of personality and behavior. It's important to remember that introversion and extroversion exist on a spectrum. Few people are strictly one or the other. Many of us exhibit traits of both introversion and extroversion, depending on the context. The key is recognizing and embracing our natural tendencies, rather than forcing ourselves to conform to a one-size-fits-all ideal. Cain's exploration of the science behind introversion and extroversion is particularly compelling because it bridges the gap between biology and behavior. By understanding the neurological and psychological foundations of these traits, we can begin to appreciate the profound ways in which they shape our lives. We don't need to strive to be someone we're not. Instead, we can work to create environments, whether in schools, workplaces, or personal lives, that support both introverts and extroverts, allowing each group to flourish in their own way. Take the example of a workplace that encourages flexibility and values both independent work and team collaboration. An ideal work environment for introverts might offer quiet spaces for deep thought and reflection, while still providing opportunities for collaborative work that doesn't require constant social interaction. Similarly, a more balanced classroom might offer both group work and time for individual reflection, allowing all students to excel according to their unique strengths. Such environments recognize that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to success. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. Through Cain's examination of the science behind introversion and extroversion, we begin to see that these traits are not just quirks of personality. They are biologically ingrained and deeply influential in shaping our lives. We've been taught to value extroversion above all else, but understanding the science behind these traits allows us to reframe our thinking. Instead of seeing introversion as a limitation or something that needs to be fixed, we can recognize it for what it is, a valuable trait with its own unique strengths. By acknowledging and appreciating the science behind introversion and extroversion, we can create more inclusive, supportive environments that allow all types of people to thrive. This deeper understanding of introversion and extroversion is not just a scientific curiosity, it's a call to action. It challenges us to reconsider the way we structure our lives, our workplaces, and our relationships. It urges us to create spaces where both quiet contemplation and loud action are valued equally, where introverts and extroverts can coexist and complement each other in ways that benefit everyone. Chapter 3. The introvert's gift. Harnessing quiet strength. When we think of success, leadership, and innovation, the loud, charismatic figures often come to mind. We picture the extroverted CEOs, the dynamic public speakers, and the social butterflies who seem to effortlessly captivate a room. But in quiet, Susan Cain reminds us that success and greatness don't always need to be loud. In fact, many of the most significant contributions to society have come from individuals who found strength in their quiet, introspective natures. Introverts, far from being passive or reserved, possess a deep reservoir of creativity, focus, and thoughtfulness. Their quiet strength has allowed them to excel in fields like writing, science, and technology, and their success stories are far from incidental. One of Cain's most powerful arguments is that introverts often excel at deep thinking, innovation, and reflection because they aren't distracted by the need for constant social interaction. Their ability to focus for long periods, their tendency to think before they speak, and their habit of reflecting deeply on ideas allows them to make significant contributions to society. This is not a weakness. It's a profound gift. Introverts are natural listeners, keen observers of the world around them, and careful thinkers who consider every angle before taking action. And it is precisely these qualities that allow them to bring fresh perspectives to the table, making breakthroughs that others may miss. Take, for instance, the case of Bill Gates, a well-known introvert who changed the course of technology and business. Gates, one of the wealthiest and most successful individuals in the world, built Microsoft not through flashy social skills or relentless networking, but through his deep focus and relentless curiosity. He spent countless hours alone, reading, thinking, and developing new software. While his peers were out at social events, Gates was immersed in his work. His introverted tendencies, his desire for solitude, his capacity for deep focus, and his ability to listen to ideas and develop them without the need for constant validation, were not impediments to his success. On the contrary, they were essential to it. Similarly, J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, is another prime example of an introvert whose quiet strengths have had a lasting impact on the world. Rowling spent much of her early career writing in solitude, facing many personal challenges before her work was recognized. Yet her ability to focus deeply on her writing and immerse herself in her characters and plots allowed her to create one of the most beloved literary franchises in history. Her introverted qualities, her introspection, her empathy, and her capacity for creative thought were crucial to her success. Rowling herself has spoken about how being an introvert allowed her to develop the world of Harry Potter in such detail, and how her quiet nature gave her the space to imagine and create something that resonated with millions. Albert Einstein, another icon of creativity and intellect, offers yet another example of an introverted genius who changed the world. Einstein was known for his solitary nature, often working alone for hours on end, exploring the mysteries of the universe. It was this ability to spend long stretches of time in deep thought, away from the noise of the world, that allowed him to develop the groundbreaking theories of relativity. His introversion allowed him to focus on ideas that others might dismiss or overlook, and it was this quiet, reflective nature that led to some of the most revolutionary advancements in science. Cain also highlights how introverts excel in leadership roles when they embrace their natural strengths. While extroverted leaders often dominate the conversation, introverted leaders excel at listening, observing, and carefully considering their decisions before taking action. This doesn't mean that introverted leaders lack confidence or vision. On the contrary, their calm demeanor and thoughtful approach often inspire deep respect. Introverted leaders like Warren Buffett, are known for their ability to listen carefully to others and then make decisions based on careful deliberation. Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, built his fortune not by constantly seeking the spotlight, but by focusing on long-term investments and developing a keen understanding of the market. His introverted nature allowed him to take a step back, observe trends, and make calculated decisions that others might have missed in the rush for instant gratification. Cain's exploration of the concept of deliberate practice is also vital to understanding the introvert's gift. Deliberate practice is a focused, intentional effort to improve skills through repetition and reflection. This type of practice requires concentration and patience, qualities that introverts naturally possess. While extroverts may be more inclined to seek immediate feedback from others, introverts are more likely to work quietly on their craft, honing their skills through focused practice over time. This ability to engage in deliberate practice allows introverts to develop mastery in areas like writing, music, and science. It's not about seeking validation or recognition. It's about the process of improvement and self-reflection. In a world that often prioritizes quick action, extroverted energy, and social visibility, introverts can sometimes feel like they're swimming against the current. But it's this very quiet strength that allows introverts to make their mark on the world. Introverts tend to operate behind the scenes, focusing on their work and letting their achievements speak for themselves. And in doing so, they often create lasting legacies that reverberate far beyond their initial impact. One key quality that sets introverts apart is their ability to listen. While extroverts often feel the need to speak and share their thoughts, introverts are natural listeners. This ability to truly hear what others are saying is invaluable, whether in personal relationships, in the workplace, or in leadership roles. Introverts listen with empathy, with the intention of understanding, not just responding. This quality of empathy allows them to connect with others on a deeper level, and it is often what makes introverts such effective leaders and problem solvers. Introverts are also known for their creativity. Because they spend time in solitude, introverts have the mental space to explore their own ideas and develop new ones. Cain emphasizes that introverts are not afraid to be alone with their thoughts, and it is in these quiet moments that many of their most creative ideas are born. Introverts are often the ones who come up with innovative solutions to problems, because they are willing to dive deep into an issue without being distracted by the opinions or demands of others. This quiet creativity allows them to produce works of art, scientific breakthroughs, and business innovations that change the world. The introvert's gift, then, lies in the ability to harness their quiet strengths, whether that's empathy, creativity, focus, or the power of deep thought. In a world that often celebrates the loudest voice, introverts have the unique ability to succeed by taking a step back, observing, listening, and thinking deeply. Their gifts, though less visible, have a profound impact on the world around them. As Cain points out, we often overlook these quiet strengths in favor of more overt displays of power and influence, but the contributions of introverts have shaped the world in ways that cannot be ignored. It's time we began to recognize the power of introversion. The next time you find yourself in a room full of extroverts, remember that the quiet ones have something powerful to offer as well. They may not always be the loudest, but their ideas, their creativity, and their ability to lead from behind the scenes are what drive true innovation and success. Introverts, with their unique gifts, are the ones who have the potential to change the world, not by shouting the loudest, but by quietly making their mark. Chapter 4. The Workplace, How to Unlock Introvert Potential. We've seen the quiet strength introverts possess, and how their unique abilities make them exceptional leaders, innovators, and thinkers. But there's one arena where introverts often find themselves at a distinct disadvantage: the workplace. In a world where extroversion is often the default setting for success, introverts can feel like square pegs trying to fit into round holes. It's not just about socializing. At the office party or speaking up in meetings, introverts face deeper challenges in environments designed for the loud, fast-paced energy of extroverted behavior. In Quiet, Susan Cain provides a roadmap for how introverts can thrive in these spaces, and how employers can help unlock their potential. The first step in understanding the challenges introverts face in the workplace is recognizing the environments they are expected to thrive in. So often, workplaces are designed with extroverts in mind. Think about the typical open-plan office, where communication happens through constant interactions, whether via spontaneous chats by the coffee machine or impromptu brainstorming sessions. These spaces, while fostering collaboration for many, can be overwhelming for introverts. The constant buzz of conversations, the pressure to contribute immediately in group settings, and the need to constantly perform socially can lead to burnout for introverts, who tend to excel in quieter, more contemplative spaces. Introverts are often expected to share ideas in real time during fast-paced meetings, where the loudest voices dominate and more reserved individuals find themselves either overwhelmed or marginalized. It's not that introverts don't have valuable insights. They do, but the typical workplace setup doesn't always give them the space to think, reflect, and share their thoughts thoughtfully. Cain emphasizes that the traditional workplace environment does not necessarily bring out the best in introverts. In fact, it often puts them at a disadvantage. The pressure to perform in extroverted ways can be exhausting and, in some cases, discouraging. One of Cain's core recommendations for introverts is to find ways to advocate for themselves in these extrovert-dominated spaces. It's essential that introverts recognize their unique strengths and take ownership of them, even when the workplace culture doesn't naturally align with their preferred style. Cain suggests that introverts should embrace their quiet, reflective nature by taking steps to carve out time and space for deep thinking. Instead of pushing themselves to speak up immediately in meetings, introverts can set aside time to process information and offer more thoughtful, deliberate responses. They may need to reframe the way they view meetings. Rather than seeing them as a competition for attention, introverts can use meetings as opportunities to observe, listen, and then contribute when they have fully formed ideas to share. One practical strategy Cain offers for introverts in meetings is the idea of preparation. Introverts often excel in environments where they can prepare in advance, think through ideas, and come to the table with a well-formed perspective. Instead of walking into a meeting feeling unprepared and pressured to think on their feet, introverts can request an agenda ahead of time, allowing them to process information and prepare their thoughts. This approach allows introverts to contribute meaningfully without feeling rushed or out of their element. Another challenge introverts often face in the workplace is group dynamics. In team settings, extroverts tend to shine by speaking up frequently, initiating conversations, and leading discussions. Introverts, on the other hand, may prefer to observe and listen before contributing, which can be misinterpreted as a lack of engagement or enthusiasm. Cain points out that the problem lies in the assumption that extroverted behavior equals engagement. Introverts often engage in different ways. They are more likely to listen, reflect, and think critically about a problem before offering a solution. To address this, Cain encourages introverts to find ways to communicate their ideas without the pressure to act or speak quickly. This might mean sending emails, writing reports, or finding alternative ways to share ideas outside of group settings. Cain's advice for employers is equally critical in creating an inclusive workplace where introverts can thrive. One of the most important changes employers can make is to recognize that introverts bring immense value to the table and that they need a work environment that allows them to shine. This starts with creating spaces where introverts can work independently and quietly. The open-plan office, while great for extroverts who thrive on constant interaction, may not be the best solution for introverts who need time and space to focus. Employers should consider providing quiet spaces or private offices where employees can retreat to do deep, uninterrupted work. This flexibility can make a significant difference in helping introverts feel valued and productive. Cain also encourages employers to think about the ways meetings are structured. In many workplaces, meetings are a central part of the culture, but they are often designed for extroverted personalities. Group discussions can quickly turn into competitions for the loudest voice or the most assertive opinion. To level the playing field, Cain suggests that employers offer introverts alternative methods for contributing to discussions, such as written reflections before meetings or allowing time for employees to submit their ideas in writing after the discussion. This approach gives introverts the opportunity to share their thoughts without feeling pressured to speak up in a fast-paced, sometimes intimidating environment. Cain highlights several success stories of introverts who have transformed their workplaces by leveraging their unique strengths. Take the example of Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, who, unlike his more extroverted counterpart Steve Jobs, was more reserved and introspective. Wozniak's quiet approach to problem-solving allowed him to focus deeply on the technical aspects of Apple's products. His introverted nature didn't hinder his success. It was integral to it. Wozniak's ability to work independently and focus on complex technical issues was a key factor in the company's early success. His story is a powerful reminder that introverts can thrive in environments that allow them to work in ways that play to their strengths. Another example is Susan Cain herself, who, despite her own natural inclination toward quiet reflection, managed to create a global movement around the idea of introversion. Cain's book Quiet has resonated with millions, and her ability to craft such an impactful message stemmed from her deep thinking, careful observation, and empathy. Cain didn't need to be an extroverted public speaker to make a difference. Her quiet, thoughtful approach to understanding introversion is what allowed her to connect with so many people. This example serves as an inspiration to introverts everywhere who might feel overlooked or undervalued in traditional workplace settings. The final piece of advice Cain offers is for introverts to understand that they have the right to advocate for themselves and their needs in an extrovert-oriented culture. It's not about changing who they are or forcing themselves to become extroverts. It's about recognizing that their quiet strengths are just as valuable. Introverts should learn to communicate their needs to managers and coworkers, whether it's requesting a quiet workspace, asking for time to think through decisions, or seeking alternative methods of communication. In doing so, introverts can create a work environment that allows them to thrive, without sacrificing their authentic selves. Ultimately, the workplace of the future will be one that recognizes the value of both introversion and extroversion. By creating environments that allow introverts to work in ways that play to their strengths, whether that's through independent work, reflective thinking, or quiet collaboration, employers can unlock the full potential of all their employees. Introverts have the ability to contribute in ways that extroverts often cannot, and by fostering a culture that appreciates both styles, we can create workplaces that are more inclusive, productive, and innovative. By understanding the unique challenges and strengths of introverts, we can ensure that all employees, regardless of where they fall on the introvert-extrovert spectrum, have the opportunity to succeed. Chapter 5. Introverts in relationships. Navigating the quiet and the loud relationships are one of the most significant areas of life, where the tension between introversion and extroversion becomes acutely visible. Whether it's with family, friends, or romantic partners, introverts often find themselves walking a delicate line between their need for solitude and their desire to build deep, meaningful connections. While extroverts may thrive in bustling social settings, enjoying large gatherings and frequent interaction, introverts prefer quieter, more intimate spaces. For them, the key to a fulfilling relationship isn't necessarily the quantity of interactions but the depth of those connections. Susan Cain's Quiet sheds light on this often overlooked dynamic, showing how introverts approach relationships in a fundamentally different way. For introverts, intimacy isn't about the size of the social circle. It's about the quality of the connection they build with others. Introverts typically form a small circle of close, trusted individuals with whom they can connect deeply and meaningfully. This might look like a handful of close friends, a few family members, or one deeply committed romantic partner. Cain's insights highlight that introverts prefer to spend time one-on-one or in small groups, where they can engage in deep conversations and form bonds that are grounded in shared experiences and values. Introverts also tend to bring a unique set of strengths to relationships. Their quiet nature often translates into an exceptional ability to listen. Introverts tend to be more attuned to the emotions and needs of others because they spend so much time reflecting on their own thoughts and feelings. They are naturally empathetic, and their ability to listen deeply can be a profound gift in relationships. Rather than dominating conversations or seeking validation through social interactions, introverts often prefer to take a back seat, letting others take the lead while they process and absorb what is being said. This makes them excellent partners, friends, and family members who are attentive and understanding. But this doesn't mean that introverts don't have their own needs. In fact, Cain points out that introverts are sometimes the least likely to express their emotional needs directly. Because introverts value their solitude, they may sometimes struggle to ask for time alone when it's needed, leading to misunderstandings with partners or family members who may not intuitively understand this need. This can be particularly challenging in romantic relationships, where the extrovert's desire for constant interaction may clash with the introvert's need for quiet. In these situations, communication is key. Cain encourages introverts to speak up about their needs and to explain that time alone isn't a rejection but a way to recharge and maintain balance. The introvert-extrovert dynamic in romantic relationships is one of the most fascinating aspects of quiet, and Cain explores it in depth, providing both insight and practical advice. Romantic relationships between introverts and extroverts can be complex, but they are also highly rewarding when both partners understand and respect each other's differences. Extroverts, who thrive on social interaction, may initially feel perplexed or even hurt by their introverted partner's need for alone time. Introverts, on the other hand, might feel overwhelmed by their extroverted partner's need for constant social engagement or attention. But with mutual respect and open communication, these differences can create a complementary dynamic that strengthens the relationship. Cain shares several case studies of introvert-extrovert couples who have successfully navigated these challenges. One example features a couple where the introverted partner, while enjoying time alone to recharge, makes an effort to support their extroverted partner's social needs. The extroverted partner, in turn, recognizes the introvert's need for solitude and doesn't take it personally when their partner withdraws for a bit. Instead of viewing these moments of solitude as a threat to the relationship, they see them as an opportunity for the introvert to regroup and recharge so that they can continue to offer their emotional support and presence. This kind of mutual understanding can lead to a healthier, more balanced relationship where both partners feel valued and understood. For introverts in romantic relationships, Cain suggests that one of the most important things they can do is embrace their true nature and communicate their needs clearly. This might mean taking a step back from social obligations or saying no to events that feel overwhelming. In a relationship, the introverted partner may need to ask for quiet time to recharge after a long day, or request that certain activities, like weekend get-togethers, be kept small and low-key. These conversations are crucial for maintaining harmony in the relationship and ensuring that both partners are on the same page. Another critical area of relationships for introverts is their ability to balance their social obligations with their need for solitude. Introverts often feel torn between their commitment to family and friends and their desire to retreat into quiet spaces. Social obligations, whether it's attending family gatherings, hosting dinner parties, or simply keeping up with friends, can be taxing for introverts, particularly if they require a great deal of energy. While introverts don't want to neglect their relationships, they also need time alone to restore their energy and maintain their well-being. Cain notes that introverts can benefit from setting clear boundaries around social commitments. For example, rather than feeling obligated to attend every social event, introverts can learn to say no when necessary. It's important to recognize that declining an invitation doesn't mean the introvert is rejecting the relationship or doesn't care. It simply means that they are prioritizing their need for self-care. Introverts can also make use of their time alone by engaging in activities that help them recharge, whether that's reading, meditating, or enjoying solitary hobbies. This personal time helps them maintain a sense of balance and ensures they don't feel drained by constant social interaction. Cain also explores how introverts navigate friendships. While introverts may not have the large social circles that extroverts do, they often have deeply meaningful and enduring friendships. Introverts tend to choose friends who share similar values and interests, and they value quality over quantity in their social lives. This can lead to strong, lasting bonds built on mutual respect and understanding. Introverts are often more selective about who they let into their inner circle, but once they form a friendship, they are loyal and deeply committed. For introverts, the key to thriving in relationships, whether with a romantic partner, friend, or family member, lies in embracing their true selves and finding ways to communicate openly about their needs. When introverts are able to express their need for solitude, share their experiences, and explain their quiet strengths, they are better able to navigate the challenges that arise in relationships. With a greater understanding of their own nature and the nature of those around them, introverts can build stronger, more fulfilling relationships that honor both their quiet and their loud. Chapter 6. Parenting introverts, raising quiet strengths. Raising a child in a world that overwhelmingly celebrates extroversion can be a daunting task, especially when that child is introverted. In a culture that prizes outgoing personalities, loud voices, and social engagement, introverted children may find themselves feeling like they don't quite fit in. They are often told to speak up more, be more outgoing, or join in, when what they truly need is space to reflect, to listen, and to think. As Susan Cain discusses in Quiet, this societal preference for extroverted behaviors can make introverted children feel like they are missing something or even that they are wrong for being who they are. However, with the right guidance and support, introverted children can learn to thrive and develop a deep sense of self-worth and strength. Cain offers crucial insights for parents raising introverted children. The first and most important step is to recognize that introversion is not a deficiency. It is simply a different way of being. Introverted children process the world in their own unique manner. They are more observant, reflective, and often more empathetic. Parents who understand and appreciate these traits can help their children flourish, rather than trying to force them into a mold that doesn't fit. Encouraging introverted children to embrace their quiet strengths is key to helping them develop a sense of self-acceptance and confidence. One of the central ideas Cain discusses is the importance of validating introverted children's needs. In an extrovert-dominated world, introverted children often feel pressured to conform to social norms that don't come naturally to them. For example, children are often expected to perform in group settings, whether in classrooms, sports teams, or family gatherings, even if it drains their energy or makes them uncomfortable. Introverted children might find it exhausting to engage in activities that require a high level of social interaction, such as birthday parties or school events. It's crucial for parents to recognize when their child needs quiet time to recharge, and to offer them the opportunity to retreat into solitude without guilt. Cain suggests that one of the best ways parents can support introverted children is by fostering self-awareness from a young age. Helping children understand why they feel drained in busy social situations or why they prefer to spend time alone with a book can be incredibly empowering. This understanding allows introverted children to make sense of their emotions and behaviors, reducing the feeling of being wrong or different. Parents can teach their children that introversion is not a flaw but a unique aspect of their personality that gives them valuable qualities, such as deep thinking, empathy, and the ability to focus intently on tasks. In her book, Cain reflects on the importance of creating a nurturing environment that accommodates introverted children's needs. For example, parents can create quiet spaces in the home where their child can retreat and unwind after a long day. These spaces can be filled with books, art supplies, or calming music, whatever allows the child to recharge in a way that feels natural to them. Encouraging solo activities, such as drawing, reading, or journaling, can also help introverted children express themselves in healthy ways without feeling overwhelmed. Parents can also model self-care by taking time for their own personal needs, demonstrating that it is not only acceptable but necessary to take breaks and recharge. In many cases, introverted children may feel isolated or misunderstood, especially if they are constantly being pushed to behave in ways that feel unnatural to them. They might be labeled as shy or antisocial, which can lead to further frustration and self-doubt. This is where parents can be a powerful force in reshaping their child's self-image. By framing their introverted qualities as strengths rather than weaknesses, parents can help their children develop a positive sense of identity. This shift in perspective is crucial for introverted children to grow up feeling confident in who they are, regardless of societal expectations. The role of the educational system also plays a significant part in how introverted children experience the world. Cain points out that many schools are designed with extroverted children in mind. Group work is emphasized, and children are often expected to participate in open discussions or public speaking. For introverted children, these experiences can be overwhelming and stressful. As a result, Cain advocates for an educational environment that supports a more inclusive approach, one that recognizes the different ways children learn and interact. Schools could benefit from offering quieter spaces for reflection, encouraging independent projects, and allowing for more flexible ways of participating in group activities. Teachers who understand the differences between introverts and extroverts are better equipped to create learning environments that allow introverted children to thrive. Cain's own experience as an introverted child sheds light on how important it is for parents and teachers to provide opportunities for quiet reflection. She recalls how her parents created a space for her to read and explore her thoughts without interruption, allowing her to nurture her creativity in a way that felt natural to her. This experience highlights the profound impact that supportive parenting and teaching can have on the development of an introverted child. One powerful theme throughout Cain's work is the idea that introverts often need time to reflect before taking action. This means that introverted children may not respond as quickly in social situations as their extroverted peers. However, this doesn't mean they aren't paying attention or processing the information. It simply means they take their time to think things through before speaking or acting. Encouraging introverted children to honor their need for reflection and not rush them into making decisions can help them develop a stronger sense of self-trust. Cain explains that this quality, being able to think carefully before acting, is actually an invaluable strength that can help introverted children succeed in life. Personal stories from introverts reflect how childhood experiences shaped their adult lives. Many introverts remember the feeling of being misunderstood. As children, whether it was because they preferred to read quietly at home instead of playing outside with a large group, or because they found socializing at school to be exhausting. For many, the experience of being told to come out of their shell or be more outgoing was painful, as it reinforced the belief that they were somehow lacking. Cain's book serves as a counter-narrative, showing that introverts have always had a profound impact on the world, and that their quiet strengths are just as valuable as the extroverted qualities that are often praised. Cain's reflections on parenting introverted children are a call to action for both parents and educators to create environments where introverts can grow and thrive without the pressure to conform to societal expectations. By fostering self-awareness, offering validation, and supporting their unique needs, parents can help introverted children build the self-confidence to navigate the world on their own terms. Cain's insights into parenting introverts provide a roadmap for raising children who are not only quiet and introspective but also strong, capable, and ready to succeed in their own way. The ultimate message is clear. Introverts are not meant to fit into a mold. They are meant to create their own, and in doing so, they will shape a world that values quiet strength. Chapter 7. The Introvert's Guide to the Modern World, Thriving in a Noisy Culture. As the world becomes more connected and noisier by the day, introverts can often feel like they are being drowned out by the overwhelming clamor of constant social media updates, group meetings, and loud personalities in every sphere of life. Yet, as Susan Cain explores throughout Quiet, introverts have a profound capacity for success, not through louder voices or more frequent interactions, but by tapping into their innate strengths. This chapter will serve as a roadmap for introverts who want to thrive in a world that seems built for extroverts. It will equip them with practical tools and strategies to navigate the noisy culture, leveraging their quiet power to succeed in both professional and personal realms. The first step in this journey is acknowledging that introversion is not a flaw to be corrected or hidden. In fact, introverts possess a wealth of untapped potential that, when harnessed, can lead to profound success. Embracing this identity fully and without apology is the foundation for all of the strategies that follow. It's about reframing how the world sees introversion, and more importantly, how introverts see themselves. While society often values the outgoing, gregarious nature of extroverts, introverts can flourish by leaning into their quiet strengths. One of the key themes Cain returns to in her book is the idea of quiet leadership. Introverts don't need to shout from the rooftops or dominate a room to make an impact. Instead, they lead by listening, observing, and making thoughtful, deliberate decisions. Introverts, who tend to be excellent listeners, can guide teams and lead organizations with a sense of calm authority that inspires trust and respect. It's the type of leadership that values deep thinking over rapid response and consideration over impulsivity. Whether in business, politics, or social justice movements, introverted leaders have proven time and again that the ability to reflect, analyze, and carefully execute a plan is as powerful as any extroverted flair for public speaking or charisma. Cain provides numerous examples of leaders like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Barack Obama, who have demonstrated that introverted qualities can not only lead to success but to lasting influence. Introverts are also well positioned to make a significant impact in professional spheres where deep focus and independent work are required. In fields like writing, research, software development, and entrepreneurship, introverts tend to excel because they are comfortable with long hours of solitude and concentrated effort. Cain discusses how introverts like J.K. Rowling and Steve Wozniak built their legacies by dedicating themselves to solitary work, often away from the public eye, until they were ready to share their ideas with the world. These individuals didn't chase external validation or attention. Instead, they focused on honing their craft and producing work of genuine value. By creating a space to quietly immerse themselves in their passion, they were able to accomplish remarkable feats. Networking, the lifeblood of professional success, is another area where introverts often feel uncomfortable. The thought of attending a packed event and trying to strike up conversations with strangers can be deeply intimidating. But Cain offers an important insight here. Introverts don't need to follow the traditional networking playbook. Instead of trying to be the loudest person in the room, introverts can thrive by cultivating deeper, more meaningful connections with a smaller circle of people. Networking for introverts doesn't mean collecting as many business cards as possible, but rather building genuine relationships with individuals who share similar values and interests. This can be achieved through one-on-one interactions, small gatherings, or even online platforms that allow introverts to connect on their own terms. Introverts often excel at forming these deeper connections because they take the time to listen, ask thoughtful questions, and offer meaningful contributions. Rather than using networking events as opportunities to promote themselves, introverts can approach these situations with curiosity, looking to learn from others and create authentic partnerships. In the workplace, introverts often face the challenge of working in open-plan offices or being thrust into meetings where extroverts dominate the conversation. Cain offers several strategies for introverts to thrive in these settings. One of the key strategies is to carve out quiet spaces where they can retreat when needed, whether that's taking a walk outside, retreating to a private office, or using noise-canceling headphones to block out distractions. In meetings, introverts can benefit from speaking up at the right moments, but also from taking the time to listen and formulate thoughtful responses before jumping into the conversation. Introverts can become valuable assets in meetings by offering insights that are often more reflective and well-considered than the rapid-fire responses of their extroverted colleagues. Cain also suggests that introverts advocate for themselves when necessary, whether by requesting a more quiet or flexible work environment, or by asserting their needs when it comes to social or collaborative tasks. By becoming aware of their own preferences and communicating those needs respectfully, introverts can create an environment that supports their well-being and productivity. One of the most profound pieces of advice Cain offers is how introverts can carve out time for solitude in a world that demands constant social interaction. The modern world is full of distractions, from the constant ping of notifications to the pressure to be constantly on. For introverts, this can be overwhelming. However, Cain highlights the importance of intentionally seeking out quiet moments, whether through meditation, journaling, or simply unplugging from technology. In these moments of solitude, introverts can reconnect with themselves, recharge their energy, and foster the creativity and deep thinking that are their natural strengths. Introverts are also often natural problem solvers, as they take the time to think things through from different angles. Cain's research reveals that introverts are able to identify solutions to complex problems by taking a more deliberate, introspective approach. Introverts tend to think through scenarios before they act, ensuring that they consider all possible outcomes. This methodical, calm approach to decision-making is a powerful asset in both personal and professional contexts, as it leads to better decisions and more sustainable outcomes. The final piece of advice Cain offers is for introverts to embrace their strengths rather than try to be someone they are not. While society often encourages people to step outside their comfort zones and adopt extroverted behaviors, Cain suggests that introverts find success by staying true to their core personality traits. They don't need to change who they are to succeed in the world. They just need to recognize that their quiet strength is just as powerful, if not more so, than any loud personality or outward display of confidence. Introverts can be successful on their own terms, as long as they embrace their identity, hone their unique strengths, and trust in their ability to make a meaningful impact. Cain concludes with a powerful reminder. Introverts are not just participants in the world. They are creators, innovators, leaders, and visionaries. Their quiet strength has the potential to shape the future in profound ways. By embracing their introversion and using it to their advantage, introverts can thrive in a noisy world and leave a lasting impact on society. Chapter 8. The Quiet Revolution, Empowering the Introvert Within. As we reach the final pages of Quiet, the quiet revolution that Susan Cain has so eloquently mapped out comes into full view. A revolution not led by loud proclamations or large crowds, but by the steadfast influence of introverts. Throughout the book, Cain has expertly built the case that introverts, often relegated to the sidelines in a world that prizes extroversion, are in fact the true changemakers, quietly reshaping our culture, our workspaces, and our relationships. In this conclusion, we reflect on the quiet power introverts hold and the profound, lasting contributions they can make when given the space to shine. Cain's message is clear. Introverts are not second-class citizens in a society that favors loudness. In fact, their quiet nature, often seen as a disadvantage in a world obsessed with noise, has the potential to make an impact that is deeper, more thoughtful, and, ultimately, more lasting. Introverts may not dominate the conversation, but their contributions, when they do speak up, are meaningful and rich with insight. From authors to scientists, innovators to leaders, the impact of introverts is immeasurable, often coming in the form of quiet reflection, deliberate action, and a focused drive toward creating something truly valuable. The notion of introverts as second-class citizens is not just a cultural misconception. It's a bias deeply embedded in our educational systems, workplaces, and social norms. The idea that one must be outgoing, gregarious, and highly sociable to succeed has been ingrained in society's definition of what it means to be successful. Introverts, by contrast, have often been seen as passive, shy, or overly reserved. Yet Cain's research dismantles these stereotypes by showing that introverts possess strengths that are essential to success in today's complex, interconnected world. Their ability to listen deeply, think critically, and reflect carefully is not just a passive trait. It is the bedrock of true innovation and leadership. Cain's thesis asks us to reconsider the very foundation of what makes a person effective in their career, their relationships, and their lives. She invites us to rethink the default setting in society, where the extrovert ideal reigns supreme, and challenges us to build a world where introverts are not only accepted but celebrated for the unique gifts they bring to the table. It's not enough to just tolerate introversion. We need to create spaces where it is valued, nurtured, and leveraged for the good of all. This is a call to action for every institution, every leader, every organization to understand the inherent value that introverts bring to the table. Imagine a world where introverts are not expected to conform to an extroverted mold, where they are empowered to bring their unique perspective and strengths into the light. A world where their quieter methods of problem-solving, leadership, and communication are not only accepted but championed. What would it look like if workplaces celebrated deep thinking and reflection rather than fast-paced action and spontaneous ideas? What if educational systems nurtured the quiet, contemplative side of learning, giving introverted students the time and space to process and express themselves? What if social spaces created room for meaningful one-on-one conversations rather than forcing individuals into loud, large group settings that drain their energy? This vision of the world is not some distant dream. It is entirely within reach. The first step in creating a more inclusive and balanced society is to acknowledge the power of introverts. We need to recognize that introverts hold just as much potential for leadership, innovation, and change as their extroverted counterparts. And when we make the deliberate choice to embrace and empower introverts, we enrich our communities and organizations with a diversity of thought, perspective, and approach. But this transformation does not rest solely on society's shoulders. It's also about each introvert learning to embrace and own their identity. Too often, introverts feel pressured to mold themselves into someone they are not, to act louder, speak more, or be more outgoing in order to fit in. Cain's message is a liberating one. Introverts don't need to change who they are to succeed. They only need to embrace their quiet strengths, trust in their abilities, and find environments where those abilities can flourish. Introverts have the power to succeed on their own terms, carving out a path that feels authentic and true to their core self. In the modern world, the notion of success is constantly evolving. It's no longer just about being the loudest or most visible. It's about making a meaningful impact, building lasting relationships, and contributing to the greater good. And introverts are uniquely positioned to excel in this new landscape. Their ability to listen, to reflect, and to engage thoughtfully with the world around them is what sets them apart as the true visionaries of the future. Whether in their careers, their communities, or their personal relationships, introverts have the potential to leave a legacy that is quiet but deeply transformative. To embrace introversion is to recognize the quiet power that lies within. It's about accepting that being reserved does not mean being weak or less valuable. It means being strategic, thoughtful, and deliberate. As introverts step into their power, they will find themselves leading the charge in a world that is increasingly hungry for substance over spectacle, for depth over noise. And so, as we conclude this journey through the quiet revolution, let us remember the most important takeaway of all. Introverts are not only the future, they are the present. They are the thinkers, the creators, the innovators, and the leaders who are already making a difference. The time has come for the world to recognize and celebrate introverts for who they truly are and for the invaluable contributions they bring to our shared world. The quiet revolution is here, and it's just getting started.